Unfortunately, nobody master today, but another mass entertainer for sure. This is Asuran. Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage and it's my ongoing pleasure to review one Indian movie each week. Well, this one we are doing too, because with our ongoing Halloween horror mayhem, we already picked the Rajkumar Rao horror comedy Street for this Friday. But from time to time, new Indian releases are also coming to our local cinema, and Asuran was one I had to see. It's a Tamil language action drama that was written and directed by Vetrimaaran. It is based on a novel Vk by Pumani and it stars Dhanush in a leading role. It is the third film by Vetrimaaran that I've seen, and you can find our reviews for Visa Raney and Vada Chennai on the channel as well. Asuran's three biggest assets are its star Dhanush, who gives an energetic as well as a more nuanced performance than you might expect here, the atmospheric rural setting the story is set in, and the fantastic, rousing main music track Bloodbath, which was composed by G.V. Prakash Kumar. Those three ingredients alone are worth to experience on the big screen. Asuran begins very promising, instantly delivering on those three aspects when it throws us directly into the story. Dhanush plays Ziva Sami, who is on the run with his 16-year-old son, while the local police and other big players are trying to hunt them down. We follow them through the thicket at night, and right from the get-go, Asuran presents itself as this David versus Goliath story. We then jump back in time to learn how we got here. Ziva Sami is just a small local farmer who lives with his wife and his three children. He has two older sons, one in his early 20s and the already mentioned 16-year-old. He also has a small daughter, but she doesn't play that big of a role in the film. There doesn't seem to be much to note about Ziva Sami. He cares very much for his family, but he's also a drunkard, and when a rich landlord and his sons from the upper caste trying to grab their land to build a cement factory, Ziva Sami tries to avoid conflict as best as he can. In the eyes of his hot-headed sons, he's more like a coward who won't fight for his family's honor, and they take matter into their own hands. Things take a turn for the worst, and Asuran doesn't shy away from very brutal and explicit imagery. Some of it is so exposed that it became almost too comical, I guess. Unfortunately, there are also some quite bad and I think unnecessary computer-generated effects added that take away from the film's overall very dense and retro atmosphere. Almost every time blood is shed, for example when a spear is entering someone's body, there are these huge digital blood effects that simply don't look good. At a very crucial point in the film there's a corpse exposed and they added a lot of digital flies to the scene. But again, it doesn't look good, more like a thick layer of buzzing black dots. In a film that's as serious and tragic as Asuran, that just took me out of the experience, and it doesn't blend together with the otherwise strong period setting. For the most part, the cinematography by Viraj is able to convey a feeling of constant danger. The film is very darkly lit and you get the impression that the upper class might eat the lower alive without them being able to protect themselves. I like the family dynamic in the first half as well. Manju Varia is a strong counterpart to Dhanush as Ziva Sami's wife, and the two brothers struggling with their father is believable. You also get a hint of romance when the family tries to get their oldest son married. Once things really escalate between Ziva's family and the upper class landlord, Asuran is able to increase the tension, and thanks to Dhanush's really strong performance, you really feel the danger, the fear and also the grief about the things that already happened at that point. And then Ziva is finally exploding, and right before the interval we are treated with one of those big Indian mass entertainer scenes. Like I said, Asuran is a David versus Goliath story, the simple farmer on one side and the rich, powerful landlord on the other. But Asuran is also a mass entertainer made in India, and by this point I've seen quite a lot of those. Of course, Ziva is more than meets the eye, and when he's pushed to the edge and there's no other way to escape the situation, he shows his true capabilities, and what that means is that He's fighting each and everyone. It's him against dozens of men, but he's the one who will be still standing in the end. Combined with the awesome music and the typical but still very impressive slow motion cinematography, it's a very cathartic and also fun action set piece. The setting in the sand, the reactions of his enemies, but also the reaction of his son, who suddenly sees his father in a whole new light. It's quite powerful. And then after the interval, it's time for a big flashback that shows us Siva in his younger years, when he was the hot-headed one who didn't take shit from anyone. There's a reason that Dhanush, who's only 36 years old, is playing the father of two grown-up sons, because now Dhanush can also play a young man in the film's second half, and I have to say, both are really believable. Of course, the whole formula is very familiar. Now we see who he was before and what led to his change. The title, Asuran, can be translated to demon, and it's the demons of revenge, of hate and violence, of oppression and frustration. When the film wants to be big, rousing and emotional, it works quite well. But it also relies very heavily on familiar tropes, and oftentimes it's very sloppy as well. Many technical elements are of varying quality. For example, I found it rather noticeable how much of the dialogue, especially expository dialogue, seems to have been just laid on top in post. It's a common practice that movies like this are at least partially dubbed in post, but there were so many instances where so much was spoken either without seeing the characters speak on screen or where it didn't seem to fit the lip movements. The sound mixing was also off at times, with some lines being awkwardly loud or of subpar quality. The editing in general was sometimes very apparent and the transitions not as smooth. I also felt the finale and the whole aspect of the court didn't work that well. Again, it was arranged and shot somewhat sloppy, and the decision what to show and emphasize and what to move over rather quickly was kind of strange at times. Some of the villain characters were underdeveloped, especially the ones in the very end. And while all the mass action scenes are a lot of fun to watch and emotionally they work, they also don't come together with the film's weird attempt to build in this social message as well. It just felt awkward when we see our hero beat the shit out of everyone, and when we see how the normal system is failing the poor and helpless. But then, our protagonist is still trying to lay down this message that education is the key to solve these problems. I do absolutely agree that education is the key to solve most problems, but in the context of this mass action revenge drama, it's just a token message that's not nearly motivated enough by what we saw on screen for the last 2.5 hours. So in the end, I think Asuran is a mixed bag with some very powerful elements. It's a solid film for sure and a decent watch, but with a little bit more focus and some technical improvements, it could have been something truly great. So in German I'd say, Asuran lebt von Dhanushs starker Darbietung, seinem bedrohlichen Setting und der tollen Musik. Etwas zu schludrig und formelhaft ist er leider aber auch. I give Asuran 6 out of 10. It's more like 6.4, but I don't do that. Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about Asuran. And also tell me what is your favorite film with Dhanush. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd simply at TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.